keeping up with like I'd say what should we call this genre? Like we spoke about aliens and now we're talking about tribes. But these are going to be about tribes basically, like undiscovered tribes and tribes that haven't been in contact with like the human species for a long time.
We'll call this the National Geographic genre.
National
Nice.
Geographic, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that is true. We're talking about quite like certain areas of the world right now, aren't we?
yeah,
Yeah,
Things
because
that
now
aren't spoken
because
about enough.
yeah, because these tribes are in like parts of India,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
shifting off to Asia.
Based around quite a lot, around the world, in it, Amazon rainforest to
Yeah, that's so
Asia,
true.
all sorts, man.
Yeah.
hmm hmm
But they can live with animals. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
And they make their own weapons, and they live quite animalistic, don't they?
It's weird, because they're basically modern day cavemen, aren't they?
Yeah,
yeah,
It would be very interesting to to observe them, but this is the conflict that I'm thinking about. If we do make contact with them, doesn't that defeat the purpose of them being
what do you mean?
uncontacted tribes?
Yeah, because they also kind of live in their
Oh,
own
because then they're
bubble and they quite
contacted,
like
aren't
that.
they? But
Would
they're
it be
also
more
dangerous.
fascinating? Would it be more fascinating to observe them from a distance rather than actually interact with them?
Yeah, because
it would
interacting with
be.
them
Yeah,
has caused to multiple deaths, like
Yeah, yeah.
multiple deaths. Even when people
I,
get
Yeah.
close to them, if they notice that it's another human, you get killed with a spear. They'll just come straight at you, basically. Apparently,
yeah,
they have
yeah.
impeccable accuracy as well. Can't lie. I've heard stories.
Yeah, so I think it's just as much as about what we want in terms of like interacting with them as much as is it safe to and what do they actually want? Are they happy? They seem happy living in their own bubble, so isn't it right to just leave them like that? They're just
Yeah, no,
living
it's
safely
definitely not
doing
safe.
their
There
job.
was one Indian prime minister who actually, this isn't like the past 5 years. It's say kind of further back than that. Indian prime minister he was in contact with them. Like I think he spoke to them at a distance,
Okay.
and but I'm not sure he either delivered something or I think he literally just tried to speak to them, but he had to go as soon as possible because it's just one, you can't give them food because they don't eat the food we eat, and you don't know what it would do to them. It's
yeah,
the same thing as they can't be in contact with the bacteria we're in contact with because they've only lived with each other, so their immune
different.
systems are incredibly weak.
Yeah, or just completely
Would you
different
would
immune
you argue
systems.
that they're weak though? Because actually, if they live in such rough lives and in such a rough environment, a really natural environment compared to how we live in comfort and they live in the mud, really. So
But it's to do with environment though. If we went into the Amazon, we wouldn't be able to handle it. If they came to Earth, no, I mean on Earth. So if they came to like if they came to like the suburbs and the standard streets,
Yeah,
they wouldn't be able to handle just like a standard flu, like coronavirus would. They couldn't. They would not be able to fight it off because their body's used to fighting off different
yeah, they've
diseases.
got
They're immune to the other ones.
exactly. Yeah, they've probably just got different immune systems. That's all.
yeah, because they're kind of evolving in their own way. They're adapting to different surroundings, which we're not used to living in. They're not used to living in our surroundings, so it's kind of evolution going on side by side with the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
species.
Well, observing them would kind of give an idea as to what our evolution was like a couple thousand years, well, 1,000 years ago or so.
I mean, they are. Some people do refer to them as like the most dangerous humans on Earth because they don't think like humans, but they
yeah,
are
I can
humans.
I can see that because they're not as evolved as we are as much as it sounds. It sounds
Yeah,
really
they
like
don't talk. They don't talk a
egotistical.
language. They have their own language,
Yeah, they do.
a different form of communication.
It is crazy that like what are they called? Indigenous people.
Indigenous.
Well, yeah,
They
indigenous peoples.
Yeah,
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 they have
peoples. They call it
their own
peoples.
society, their own food, their own language, their own their own norms and values. It's crazy to be able to talk to them because upon first greeting them, the most likely outcome is that you'd be killed.
Yeah, because you're just an outsider. They don't trust you.
I
yeah.
wonder how their societies would
You're as
work.
alien to them as they are to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually heard that. The way they use spears and the weapons that they make, it's as dangerous as us using a gun. So if we had a gun, we're still more in danger because the way they use spears is the same way we use a gun. Like they're that dangerous with it. And I'm pretty sure this was from the Joe Rogan podcast. Found it out. And there's like
Yes,
in
yeah,
2013, there was like they said to be roughly 100 uncontacted tribes worldwide, and half of them are in the Amazon rainforest. So maybe that's another reason why we don't delve deeper into the Amazon rainforest because it's just not safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, and how we perceive them as dangerous, they perceive us just as much, maybe even more dangerous. Because they,
Yeah.
they
There's
live off like hunting instincts and all this sort of stuff. They might think that our sort of way of living, maybe they think we're in some big tribe and they're living like the normal life, how humans should be living instead of reliant on all these different systems and the civilization we live in.
Do you
There
reckon
is a
they have-
video on the internet of them being in contact with a human. Is one man. They just stare at him for a long time.
Do you reckon they have a lot of their mini tribes have a sort of democracy type system, or do you think it's something different?
I would say there is obviously some forms of unwritten rules, but other than that, they're a lot more animalistic.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I think there's always a
they
hierarchy.
they are the high to our jackal, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
like the bad side of humans, but obviously we don't know if they're all bad.
Well, yeah, we can't necessarily call them bad.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a hierarchy. There's definitely leaders. There's definitely people at the top, and there's definitely
Yeah.
people at the bottom, 100%.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
people that fill the
Which
gap.
there is within animals, within lions is meant to be like they're the king of the jungle. So
Yeah,
and within everything, there's a hierarchy, whether it's put in place verbally or not. It's sort of instinct, like that's how everything is.
but I mean, I don't know if any of you know. Do you know actually how they come about?
Oh,
As
But
in
how-
how
how
they
do
were
they end up-
discovered.
Now, how did they end up in the Amazon rainforest as humans?
Well, personally, I think what's happened is over generations and generations, it's become tradition to isolate yourself from the rest of humankind and to build your own sort of like society. So the leaders of these tribes obviously follow these kind of rules to stay away from the world. They maybe even perceive us as devils, and they're the ones that are actually in the right, and they would rather keep themselves away, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they tend to be looked at
Yeah,
as monsters.
it's like us against you mentality, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, that was it. That was it. The Indian Prime Minister, he said something along. It was to do with healthcare. I think he literally said something like, "You can have access to our healthcare." That he was trying to communicate it, basically saying, because nowadays most Indians in the Amazon they do have access to healthcare. They will never use it though. Like Western healthcare and education, they're allowed to use it, but they choose not to because it's like principles, like you said. It's become tradition to stay away from the Western culture, basically.
And I think we're all familiar with the most infamous of these tribes, which have been looked at, is the Sentinelese.
Yeah. They're the
We've all
biggest
heard
ones,
of
aren't
that,
they?
yeah, before. And there is actually pictures of online. You would, if you were to go to Google right now and type in Sentinelese tribe, you would find these almost ape-like beings who are human, obviously, but their actions they just look so premature, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think there's. I don't know if it was that tribe in specific. There's like 300,000 of them.
But that's actually
That's a big number.
large
That's a
amount. That is
massive
a
number.
lot
Yeah.
if you think about
I
it.
thought it was only hundreds. 300,000. That's
No, there are most. I'm sure most of the segments are just
That's not the size of a country.
about that many people. But yeah, there's 300,000
Yeah.
of them. I don't know if that's a fact. Don't quote me on it. But
And if you've seen the tools they used, you can see there is a bit of intellect in what they do. You can
There
see
would
that
be. Yeah, there would be.
they do have
yeah, it's like
their own
cavemen.
technology. I mean, it's not exactly technology as we would think, but it is there, like spears that have been crafted from wood and all sorts of hunting equipment, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do
They're
you think about
literally
the way they modify their faces and they like pierce themselves and massive things on their ears and on their head? What do you think
Oh,
about that?
yeah,
Why
oh
is
like
that?
yeah, and like
That's
the
just their
bracelets.
Yeah.
fashion, you know. Like we have
Why
questionable
why would they
fashion.
care about fashion?
well, you say that, but like they're literally living on survival of the
Yeah,
fittest.
they
They're
don't
like
care. I think there's
we
purpose to it
perceive
all.
them we perceive them as dangerous, but they probably just feeling really vulnerable, so they need to have this sort of like scare us off, and so maybe like
Well, maybe
the
it's
paint on them and stuff is like a survival mechanism.
yeah,
They
maybe.
think
Yeah.
And I think
gonna
I
ward us
definitely
off
think
evil
it's a way
stuff.
of I think it's a way of them identifying each other as well. So like I'd assume the guy at the top, the male or the female at the top of the hierarchy is, and I actually think they don't differ from like male and female. I don't think they get treated differently. Like I genuinely don't believe. I feel like a female could be at the top of the hierarchy, and
They probably
like I don't
could
think they
be, yeah.
differ.
They probably
Yeah, I
have
don't
like
think. Yeah,
fights and
I don't
stuff
think
to see who's strong enough to be at the top. But I mean, like
that's probably how it works. That's
if
how
you
you
were,
get to the top of the hierarchy.
yeah, exactly. If you were gonna go like, most of them would probably have a male in at the top though, because biologically and stuff, you know, if it were to come to fighting, then you know.
Um, yeah, it's basically survival of the fittest. You know what I mean? Like it's an unwritten rule of nature.
Right, listen, if someone can beat
Even with
everyone,
animals, lions, they're the king of the jungles because they are seen as the most fittest for their environment. If you know what I mean.
mm,
Yeah, they've actually come up in the news like recently. No, well during the COVID because everyone does actually fear for them. Because
Mhm.
to be honest, they don't do any harm. Unless someone touches them, they're not going to just come out and kill Western people, and people are just scared for them because of they're like
Yeah,
low immune
they're more
systems.
defending
Like,
themselves rather than attacking people for no reason.
yeah, like
That's what
COVID's
Verity
really
has.
dangerous for them. Like, and you've got to go to think is they don't know what COVID is because they're not in contact with us. Like, so
Yeah,
they don't listen to the radio. They don't have a TV. Like, they haven't heard about this
yeah.
COVID
But their immune
virus.
system would be more adapted because they're living in these sort of like, let's say,
I
rainforests.
don't think so. I don't
They're
think so.
exposed to like every like different animals,
well,
and
but they're
they'll
not
be exposed to
exposed
a lot
to.
I
more.
don't
They're
think so
not
because people
exposed
are
to the
dying with
general
the amount of
general.
technology we have. Our
And they're in
technology is
completely
stronger
different
than their immune
environments. Also.
systems.
No, I don't think it is. I think the natural immune system is much stronger than technology. No, but I think
It's
that
not.
the
It's
point.
actually not like they've got low immune systems. I don't know how to put this. They actually do. Like
I don't
search
think
it.
they can have low
You
immune
go no.
systems.
I can't like
I
legit
think
search it,
it's
bro. How many times do you want me to say it?
no. I think
They've
it's
got
just
low
different.
immunity levels.
I think it's just different to ours. Okay, some
But
of them
no,
might have it.
search it. No, how many times do you want me to say this? They do not. But I
Mm.
don't understand how many times you want me to say this. Or how you want me to put
Okay,
it? They
all
don't
right.
have.
Maybe some of them have
What
lower
the hell?
ones because they're around less disease and stuff like that.
Bro, I've seen the size of them. They're depleted. Like they're not. Oh, come on, man.
Actually, to be honest, when you say the size of them, I think, to be honest, they've adapted to
They're
their
cannibals.
surroundings, and what we see as unhealthy, they're actually perfect for their environment. If you think about it, if they're chasing wild animals to survive, they're gonna need a lot of cardio, and they're quite skinny. They have an ectomorphic somatotype, which means that they're more
Right,
built for their surroundings, if you know what I mean.
right.
Yeah,
No,
And
that's
they
true.
they must have hardened skin and uh less penetrable than our skin is because we're able to find comfort in our environment, whereas they're walking above stones, bricks, well, not bricks essentially, but like wood, and just they could get splinters or anything. But what I'm saying is they've clearly adapted that environment, and it would be interesting to find out what in our biology makes that happen.
Okay, but say if they do that, doesn't have anything to do with their immune system. Like it doesn't matter how strong your immune system is. Something like COVID, it proved that it doesn't matter how strong your immune system is. Ronaldo got it. Like that's probably one of
no,
the
but
healthiest
no,
people in the
Does,
the
world.
immune
but does
system's about how
Yeah,
you
Ronaldo
but
fight
they're
it.
not
only?
catching COVID-19 in. But this is a fact. I'm not. I'm
If
not
they were
making. I'm
gonna,
not
if
giving
they
you an
were gonna
opinion.
catch,
Search
yeah,
it on the internet
no,
right
no,
now.
I know
Whether they
what you're
have a
saying.
strong immune system or not. Like I don't know how many times you want to say it.
No, I know what you're saying. If they were gonna catch
What the hell?
COVID-19, they'd be killed off instantly because of course, their immune system is
So
like
why didn't we say that
thousands.
15 minutes ago?
Because we're saying that they haven't got a weaker immune system; they've just got a different one. That's all. Like they could
I
probably
never said
take
it.
on diseases that only fester in the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah, and
If
we
we
could
were
take on diseases that they couldn't take on.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah,
We're just built different.
just built different.
just complete different environments, complete different immune systems.
You know what is interesting that I would
But
like
that's not.
to point out? Um, so I'm not sure if you guys have seen this film, but honestly, if you haven't, go watch it because I don't know why you haven't seen it. But do you remember the 2000 film King Kong?
Yeah,
The
Yeah,
is
yeah,
It's quite
yeah. I haven't
iconic,
watched it.
to be honest. And you haven't watched it.
he
I
hasn't
haven't
watched it.
watched many movies.
Carry on with the
Come
point.
on,
Carry on
man.
with the point.
It's a legendary film, by the way. Godzilla versus King Kong. That's gonna be sick.
Oh,
But
that's gonna be sick.
anyway, what I'm saying is, in that film, they had when they discovered Kong, he was surrounded by an uncontacted tribe who were I wouldn't say protecting, but worshipping
Yeah,
him.
they were worshipping him. Yeah.
That shows how they have their own form of communication because they were clearly communicating with him then.
Yeah, and what they did in that film is they took the people who were, what's the word? They were shipwrecked, obviously, and they were found on the island by this tribe, and the tribe offered Kong a human sacrifice as if that was their god of some sort.
I swear.
So, what I'm thinking is, whoever produced this film, their perception is that these tribes do follow like a natural religion of sorts. So
Yeah, they
would you
clearly
think
believe in
that?
something.
Yeah, would you believe that the Sentinels have a religion?
Yeah, because
Probably.
I think that's what helps them like live every day.
Yeah, to do
Yeah,
what
they
they
It
do,
could.
gives
they
you
must
it
have
gives you a
very strong
reason.
beliefs.
If it wasn't
It
for
gives you a
religion,
reason.
if it wasn't for religion, we wouldn't have morals and stuff. You know, we wouldn't.
Yeah, morals, norms, values, and anything that we consider in society.
Maybe it's not a religion, but they definitely believe in something,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
and
think
yeah.
they could even sculpt like idols and worship them of some sort. It's very, it just shows us how we got to this stage, if you know what I mean. How us humans who live in such a comfy environment have progressed.
But from all the videos of watching them, they are said to be underdeveloped human beings. They're not as developed as us. I don't know if you can't deny it. Like from everything I've watched, they're not as smart as us. Otherwise, they would
Yeah, well,
actually be able to speak a language.
that's
And
obvious though, isn't it?
but I don't know the way you guys were coming at me. You probably say no, they're smarter than us. So
no,
No,
they have
no,
stronger
I
immune
wouldn't say
systems.
smarter.
no, that's got nothing to do with smart. So
But it does
that's just
teach us a
happened.
lesson. It does teach us a lesson of how our foundations were built
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
how do you say it? Nethandrials.
Uh,
Neanderthals. That's
that's
it.
Neanderthals.
the one. That's the one. Yeah.
No, it's
Very
easy
And
to
the
standard.
say if
Homo
you're American.
sapiens and all that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, we are Homo
Yes.
sapiens.
we are Homo sapiens.
I'm not
Yeah.
Homo. I mean, you guys do what you want.
No, we're Homo sapiens. Yeah, facts.
I'm just sapien. I'm just saying.
Wait. Oh,
What,
yeah.
what were you saying,
If you
Sam?
type in, yeah, type in Homo sapiens, you just get apes that come up. No, sorry,
Yeah,
like
because that's when humans were actually called Homo sapiens. It's like the first naming system to determine species.
damn. Oh my god.
Wow.
The
That is
nomenclature.
interesting.
That's the word.
They look really abnormal, don't they? They have quite a large head and a naturally built body, which is built
They
That's because
for
what they
their
need. That's what they needed, you know, because they had to survive and stuff. Right now,
Do
we're
you
gonna.
believe? Do you believe in Darwin's theory of evolution?
I mean, I think looking at these tribes kind of proves it in a
To a
way,
certain
doesn't it?
extent.
Yeah, it proves it to an extent. Yeah.
Like, there's always going to be big conflicts. What people think 'cause it's a big theory. Like it can't completely be proved. It's based on testimony and everything. But there is proof humans are adapt. Every species adapts to survive based on the environment. Like giraffes, like for example, they grew longer necks to reach the higher trees. Like it's like a fact. So to some
Yeah.
extent, I think everyone believes in it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a different form of that's just adapting to the surroundings and evolving.
Yeah, I know what you
Like
mean.
yeah, that's more form of evolving because this is where it's sticky because religion doesn't believe in religion
In
doesn't say that
evolution,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah. Well, religion believes in well, to be honest, all monotheists believe in like Adam and Eve or some sort. Whereas Darwin, his theory was that we were monkeys at one point,
Yeah. From a different species to humans.
and that
Yeah.
because due to the environment, we've slowly evolved into humans.
And why are there still monkeys and why haven't those monkeys evolved?
Because not all groups of a species will evolve. So, for example, if you have a group of monkeys, let's say, only the smarter ones will evolve into us because they would have used less of their bodies and more of their minds
There's
to
very
create
few dumb
tools and stuff.
monkeys.
Yeah, but why didn't the rest of them die off if we needed to be a human eventually to survive in this world?
Exactly. That's why I think
Well,
it's just this.
because climate
It's
change
just at the end of the day, it's a
indefinitely.
theory, and the
Yeah,
theory is
it
not.
can't
It's
Yeah,
be
not.
proved,
yeah.
There's a
or
reason why it's
I'm just
called a
giving
trends
I'm
theory.
just giving
completely proved.
suggestions. I'm just giving suggestions. Like maybe it's like the smarter group kind of moved off. They kind of emigrated, let's say, to different climates, which forced them to evolve in different ways and stuff. And maybe the dumber ones or like emigrated somewhere else or just stayed where they were. You know, is
Yeah.
One of the definitions for theory is an idea used to account for a situation to justify a course of action. So it's basically like, so imagine this is how
interpretation.
I'm really dumbing it down, but so Darwin looked at us, looked at apes, was like, okay, how did we end up in this place? And then you create a theory to justify it. So there's going to be like multiple theories, isn't there?
Yeah,
You know,
and theory
that
doesn't need
is
evidence.
The reason his theory is believed by so many is because you can literally see the similarities. You know, sometimes like, you know, the way if you actually interact with a monkey, you realize how human they are. The only difference is they can't speak English.
that bringing on to another kind of subsection of the topic. It's actually quite interesting that recently monkeys have and chimpanzees have started using like ancient tools to
To fish.
survive. Yeah, to fish.
I've seen that. You can literally see a picture of a
Yeah.
chimpanzee, and he's using a spear to fish. Like he's literally fishing.
And now people are claiming that these monkeys are entering their own stone age.
Maybe.
It's crazy to think because although the tools are like quite crude, but like these monkeys and chimpanzees were using stone hammers to and like forming them into hand axes and stuff. And
But it's clever because they're making the best out of what they have.
Yeah.
they've developed a culture that makes a routine used of to create new technology as if we were doing the same thing thousands of years ago.
So do you reckon that's through imitating humans? They're copying and realize that's success,
Yeah.
or that's come naturally to them?
Those are the theories. That's what I heard
It could be a bit of
about
both.
copying human beings.
That
They
is
could do
interesting.
that.
Yes, we would have to know if these chimpanzees have come in contact with humans or if they're wildlife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Because then
okay.
essentially that would be
Oh.
proving Darwin right
It'll be
if they were in the wildlife.
It'll be interesting to see how they evolve around an already evolved civilization, though. You know.
Well, I've actually found
Planet of
what
the
I was
Apes. There
talking
we have
about.
it.
It was an orangutan from a zoo, and he was reintroduced into the wild. And he was seen spear fishing, so he was fishing with the spear after watching a local fisherman. So he was copying a human.
Yeah. So you basically imitated it. Saw the reward was you get your
Yeah.
food afterwards, and
But
continue doing
also,
it because it got him success.
That's quite interesting actually because
But that-
I've been studying some sociology recently and I've heard of a sociologist named Albert Bandura, and he created a theory called what was it, the social learning theory.
Yeah. So
What he would do was he created the Bobo doll experiment. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
yeah,
but
yeah. I've heard it.
it was they used children who are quite vulnerable and they're easy to manipulate. I wouldn't say manipulate, but their minds can be shaped. And in some sort, these kids are kind of like these monkeys who have been showed an action and then they later replicate their action because they've seen the rewards that they receive.
wasn't that
Yeah, and
something
it
to do
was
with aggression?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
even something unmoral as they basically saw that the aggressive kids who beat up these Bobo dolls got a reward.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the reward was, but even something like against morals, they did that and they found the reward and they did it anyway. So you can link that to almost animalistic behavior.
Yeah,
So they
and
do
that
whatever it
also
needs
does
to get the
create.
food.
That is basically the foundations of creating morals and the norms of society, if you know what I mean. Although it sounds like really basic, it's essentially is the foundations of it.
Yeah, you would have heard people talk about nature or nurture a lot, and I
Yeah.
think that just shows nature because when you're and to be fair, it shows both of it because I'm pretty sure the experiment you're on about. So they watch adults, and then the children like basically copy them.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, that just shows how it's what's around us, and that shows how similar animals are to human beings because they see what's around them and they copy it. Like there's stories of snake monks, and the snakes literally copy the actions of a snake. Isn't this literally? There's a scene in Karate Kid. I know it's a movie, but it does happen in real life. You can make this. You know when they said, "Oh, is he copying the snake?" But it was actually the snake copying the man's action, and that's real. So that's actually similar, and that's not a monkey. That's a completely different.
Okay,
animal.
but now you're saying is that
It's a reptile.
we replicate actions of beings that are more advanced than us. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, I'm saying that animals can replicate us basically because they're smarter than we think, and it's not just the chimpanzees, the monkeys, and the orangutans.
Okay, how about this then? You mentioned that the monkey, the chimpanzee, whatever, it used a spear after watching
Yeah,
the man,
orangutan. Yeah,
which was a learned behavior, wasn't it?
yeah.
Would another spunky, not spunky.
Oh my god.
Edit that out.
No, keep it in.
Another
going.
monkey, a monkey was, I was gonna say, can learn the same behavior of that monkey that you then use the spear.
Yeah, 100%. I think so.
If so, is that is
Competition.
that what happened that led us to evolve?
Maybe
I don't know, man.
that's another way of
Learn
looking at it.
behavior of each other that we bounce it off and then spread as a wide society, creating norms and values between each other.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah,
another.
if it's seen as an advantage to survive.
Yeah, exactly.
But
That's
that's
crazy.
why tribes turned out how they are because they look at how animals fend for themselves, feed for themselves. You know what I'm saying? And then so they'll watch them, they'll copy them, and that's how they have animalistic features. It's literally like that. Everyone just copies everyone. That's it when you break it down.
It's just learned
But I'm
behavior.
still
Isn't it?
amazed that a snake copies a human being.
I mean,
But I
it is
always
a
said I
film,
think
but I
snakes are
don't,
really clever. No, that can happen in real life. I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm pretty sure
snakes.
you can actually do that.
That's quite interesting, actually. Maybe snakes
Well,
might evolve into
Well,
some other
because
being.
snake charmers are a real thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, whether you believe in
And they
the
use
dodgy side
music
of
to
it,
manipulate snakes.
yeah, exactly. It's still a form of manipulation, though. But actually, music is vibrations, and there's multiple studies on that vibrations can control human beings. So, no,
Is in
sorry,
frequencies.
frequencies, yeah. So I'm guessing that might control the snake through the music. But I don't know how they do it. Don't they use a flute as well?
Yeah, they use a flute. It's a Middle Eastern kind of thing,
Do
isn't it?
people look down on it?
Um, that's quite interesting, actually. I would say it's a form of entertainment. So
So you reckon
someone,
people would like pay for that and to happen
I mean, the
nowadays?
RSPCA wouldn't stand for it, but
Yeah, it would never happen in the UK.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
way. We're
oh,
talking Middle
actually,
Eastern
that's quite
countries.
interesting because in India there's known as dancing bears. I don't know if you heard of this, but there are bears that have been taken into captive as they're young, and these people who have kidnapped these bears, they've raised them but off strict rules and conditions, and they've been taught and well pretty much abused into dancing as a form of entertainment.
Yeah, I've heard of that. They cover their mouths as well, don't they? Like
Yeah, they use
it's like
muzzles
a
and
muzzle.
sorts.
Yeah, a muzzle. Because it's actually, I mean, it's sad. Even though bears are like some of the most dangerous animals, but
100%.
like obviously no animal deserves to be held captive. Essentially, yeah. I'm just looking at pictures now. But they're actually dancing. Like they actually are dancing.
Yeah, and they've been taught that is again learned behavior in nature. They've been
Yeah,
taught
which is why they're not
following these
attacking.
rules.
They don't attack the people because they've been brought up as human beings.
Yeah,
And
there's
yeah,
enough evidence to show there's a big relationship between animals and humans. Like the fact you can keep an animal as a pet, like even for example, like parrots who could copy humans talking. I think that you definitely there's a lot of evidence to prove that animals can learn from humans certain
Yeah, it's
behaviors.
all about surroundings. There was a video of a man, a zookeeper, or just a man in nature, and he looked after a baby elephant. So he nurtured the baby elephant for a couple of months, and obviously he wanted to eventually send him back into the wild with his family, and it couldn't adapt. It literally couldn't adapt. It kept coming back to the human being. It just couldn't adapt and hang out with its own species. But it did eventually. But it just shows it needed time to adapt to its environment and
Yeah.
understand what was around him. It's whatever you. If you bring up a bear in the midst of human beings, it's just gonna believe it's part of the society because that's all it's known. It's not gonna know there's a whole other empire just full of bears somewhere. They're not gonna know
Yeah.
that.
well,
I was
let
gonna
me
s-
counter that. Let me counter that. Actually, hold on, Jay. One second. I just want to get this off my chest. You saying that they would follow these rules that us humans have implemented and basically disciplined them. Have you ever heard the story of I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but it's Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah.
Sigmund Freud.
No,
Sigmund
no,
Not
Freud.
no,
Sigmund
no.
Freud.
This is not a sociologist. This is an incident that happened in I believe it's a circus or some sort of like entertainment where these
Probably
two
a
guys,
circus, yeah.
these two guys who had raised white tigers. They'd raised these white tigers from young. Yeah, they've disciplined them. They've shown them love. They've shown them how to behave essentially. But one day these tigers had snapped and they attacked their own owners who had
I
actually
think I
treated them with love.
yeah, I think that's an anomaly because most of the stories you hear about people keeping these tigers as pets, like that's normal in Dubai. And also the Netflix documentary. What was it
Oh,
called?
Tiger
The
King.
Lion, the Tiger, yeah, Tiger King. They literally, they literally
I was gonna
love
s-
the owners,
I was gonna say
But then
you gotta think
but
there's
they're
about
got to
still
be
animals. At the
balance,
end of the
though.
day, they will always have an animal instinct.
yeah, you
They
gotta think
always
about
will. You
you
can't
gotta
get
think
rid of that.
about DNA as well. Like one way to show how similar a lot of animals are to humans is by just looking at DNA as well. But also with animals that have been brought up, let's say raised as humans, right, taught disciplines and morals and stuff. In their DNA as well, they will kind of lash out sometimes as well. Like for example, humans and stuff. A lot of
Babies
us,
lash out.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah, but
a lot of us, but like
they
think of it
don't.
like this. A lot of us,
I'm sure you can find one that does, like a baby who's attacked his parent. I'm sure you can find one.
think of it like this. A lot of us grow up not necessarily with much physical conflicts, right? But even still, we'll flinch when something comes near us, or we'll have a sudden burst of
Will resort to
adrenaline.
basic instincts.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like
basic instinct.
basic instincts are passed through DNA. So of course, with animals, even if they're brought up to be humans, they're still going to have those basic instincts, which can just come at any moment.
And do you believe these instincts could eventually be dissolved one day?
Yeah,
That we could
through
evolution.
generations of through
I,
evolution.
I think it would either take generations and generations, like I'm talking centuries and centuries, or like actual technology where you like you turn them into robots basically, and put them into chips. Like you put chips inside
Manipulation
of them.
also.
Yeah, but
Maybe
I don't
that
think
as
you
well.
can get rid of animal instinct because
Because
they're no
it's
longer an
natural
animal. Then
order. It's one thing right now we can't compete against.
it's
What
one of
do
the key things animals have that we don't have is
what do
animal
we
instinct. That's why it's called
define?
animal instinct.
What do we define as animal instincts, though? Because
I would say
surely a that's subjective to a species, though, because let's say we were super advanced, no conflicts, all peaceful and everything, right? Even what we
Mhm.
may define as like for example debating and arguing, we don't define that as animal instincts. We define that as a human instinct to just talk it out with someone. But maybe civilizations that are so advanced that everyone agrees with each other and whatnot, maybe they see that as
well,
animalistic because they see it
Jay,
as a
No, I think you can
j-
say one thing that refers to all animals, and it's the instinct of how, let's say, any animal, they have an instinct which we don't have. We can argue that mothers have it, but they have a mother instinct where they can sense their child's in danger no matter how far their child is. Or you can say
mhm.
humans have it, but the way animals have it, it's not the same. It's on a higher level.
It's a different kind of measurement.
Exactly.
I get what you're saying. And Jay, I just wanted to touch on this, but like you said, if we were evolved to a point where we didn't need to argue with each other and debate, well, aren't we doing that right now? Where I'm actually, if you really dumb it down, what I'm doing right now is when I'm debating with you, I'm obtaining information from you and therefore evolving myself.
mm, mm, yeah.
And at one point, we'll assimilate within each our own thoughts and opinions until we're the exact same on a higher level.
I guess so. Yeah.
I I agree with that, but then I also believe there's always going to be hierarchy.
Conflict.
There's always going to be someone who knows the most.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
anyone
also
will
agree
all
with
I
that
don't think
too.
we'll ever all know the same because Jordan Peterson talks about it a lot. How societies can only work with hierarchies. as much as people dislike hierarchies, without hierarchies, society just wouldn't work as
Oh,
smoothly as they do.
as in like capitalism.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why even
because
communism's looked down on so much.
yeah,
You need a
I
hierarchy.
agree with that because within communism, yeah, you'll be all right for a few years, but then one person would say, "I've had enough of this. I want to feel better, more wealthier than someone else," because that's what it's about. It's about trying to out level another person, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it seems like it would only work on the basis that everyone has no sort of greed in them, which is basically
that's not
Yeah, yeah.
possible.
yeah,
Linking to instinct, that is a human instinct. No matter
Yeah,
how selfless you want to be, everyone has that little bit of edge that they want to better themselves, have this sort of goal. They don't want to live
Yeah,
on
no,
the same
that's
life, just
literally the dog
surviving.
eats dog instinct. It's the dog eats dog.
Yeah.
yeah,
Whereas animals just live to survive. Like they survive, they're happy. We are surviving, but we're still not happy. And maybe that is through evolution. That's
No,
definitely an
we are
instinct
like
within society
animals.
now.
We're exactly like animals. I think it is dog eats dog. You'll meet me. It is. It's the exact same. You live like animals.
yeah.
What do you need to live? You need food. If you're in danger, you get yourself out of danger. And you just get your way through life. That's how a lot of people treat it, and that's what animals do.
I think
Just that they tend to be in more danger than us.
going back to the capitalism thing though, real quick. I think the problem that a lot of people have with capitalism though isn't necessarily the idea that how much you earn or how successful you are is proportional to how hard you work. That's fine, but in today's society, at least, some people it's not proportional at all. Some people don't do anything, and yet they're more successful than people will ever be. So
Yeah, I'm not talking anything to do with that. Literally, just the sense of if there's not a leader in any sense, they don't even need to be labeled a leader. Just someone who people listen to, or I know everyone can't be on the same level because if everyone's on the same level,
almost like
I
a
just don't-
bureaucrat is what
well,
you're
then
saying.
conflict would occur
you
because
know what?
someone's going to try to get to the top.
Actually, Jay, you know what? On what you said, where everyone wants to like get one above each other. What if it's people who want to find the easiest comfort in life? And
Then they wouldn't.
like you said, people who do the bare minimum actually find joy in it, is because that is what they perceive as the most comfort they can achieve.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because that's what animals do. Animals are just there to live. They're just there to survive, like Ali said.
To reproduce, just to move on with life, basically.
Yeah, because one of our most obvious, like talking about surviving and reproduce, our most obvious animal instincts is actually our sex drive. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
So that links to the fact of reproduction. That's why some people, isn't it? They don't really care about much that's going on as long as they reproduce.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just keep a family going.
Do you think with being so um advanced then compared to other animals, do you think we've been spoilt by the idea of fun then? Because maybe because of course all animals are fine with just living, surviving, reproducing, and then dying. That's just how it is. But as a civilization that's so advanced, we've got so many different things ahead of us that we can do that has nothing to do with the norm, let's say. So do you think we've been spoilt by that?
Yeah. I think it always comes down to like what in our head is essential for us. It's always like the idea of the grass is always green on the other side. Like, for example, someone in poverty, their dream is to be. Do you know, like we're complaining about lockdown, can't go here, can't go there, we're stuck in the house. They this would be their dream to have shelter, have food, have safety.
Yeah,
So it all comes
yeah,
down to what we see as essential. But for maybe some of us, it is essential to have fun, which it is through society we're getting spoiled by certain things. Whereas linking it back to animals, their essential is to survive. If they're each day trying to work hard to survive, they're content with that. If they have that and they take that for granted, then they'd potentially be looking for more, like dominating the area they're in, scaring off the other animals. It's all relative to your own
That's quite
experience.
interesting, Ali. Because actually, did you know that I mean, this is gonna make Kung Fu Panda look really weird, but praying mantises,
yeah,
Yeah.
the sexual reproduction, they actually behead their partners, as if like life doesn't mean anything to them except reproduction.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
It's a key animal instinct. That's why. Yeah.
That I just wanted
That's
to share
interesting.
that. It's weird, but I just wanted to share
But
that.
where
They
does that
actually,
come from? Is that for as in no one else? Like you've served your purpose in life, so you don't deserve to live. What's the purpose of that?
I don't know if it is like if it has a purpose. It may be just a release of aggression
Just
or some
innate.
sort,
Yeah.
or like something more natural that we don't understand yet.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, they are also cannibalistic, so that may mean that it's another part of survival where they have reproduction. They have all that. They behead their partner, and then they also eat their partner because they need to survive. And on that note, Kung Fu Panda is a really good film.
Yeah. Cool. I think we should close that one off there. Anyone want to close with any statements real quick?
I just love how we started talking about tribes and went on to our humans versus animals.
I say shout out Bob Lazar.
Shout out Bob Lazar.
Shout out Bob
Shout out
Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Shout out
Big up Bob
Lazar.
Lazar.
Big up Bob.
Lazar. No, it's Lazar. But okay.
Lazar. Cool.
Big up the Sentinels. Big up all the uncontacted tribes. Big up Amazon rainforest.
Big up National Geographic as well. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be if it wasn't.
Big
for
up the
them.
praying mantises.
Big up. The
Big up
praying
Jay for being a
mantis.
homo.
Homo sapien.
Homo
It's
sapien.
Pride Month, whatever. I don't know.
Alright, I'm gonna end it there. Okay.
Shout out Sam and any spunkies.